Sixes and sevens, episode 5 of Again My Life starts with protests outside Miri Motors. It's a company that's about to be sold to foreign investors thanks to its restructuring. Right now, there's nothing Wee-Woo can do about this. While he travels on the bus away from the area, Tae-seok continues to make moves to climb the Blue House ladder to the top. Part of this comes from stopping the merger, joining hands with a fellow politician in a bid to aim for the presidential elections. When Woo finds out, he realizes this is different to his own timeline, and it's something that's going to make his job that much harder to do. Woo-Woo's first job as a prosecutor revolves around a man named Mr. Park. He's taken to a crime scene and told to reenact a brutal stabbing he allegedly committed. Hands shaking, the man drops to his knees and pleads with the police, telling them he didn't do it. His son, Park Sang-man, is distraught as his father is taken away. The case itself goes on for a long time, but Wee-Woo convinces Sang-man to keep his head down and work hard. Wee-Woo is going to try and help prove his innocence, but that's going to take a long time. Not wanting Sang-man to go through 10 years of hell, Wee-Woo speeds things up, obtaining the evidence himself. Despite everything pointing to Mr. Park being the culprit, the clothes he wore that day don't have any bloodstains on them. This would point to a big hole in the police's investigation, which Wee-Woo confirms when he brings the man's clothes to Prosecutor Chang. Wee-Woo also throws shade on Hong In-pyo's wife. She's constantly been talking about killing her husband, and now they have proof to confirm it. She killed him that night, in a bid to try and get rich as she was having an affair with another man. He's the one who actually spilled the truth to the police, something helped by Wee-Woo encouraging Chang to bring him in for questioning. In-pyo's wife saw a good opportunity to frame Mr. Park, having earlier witnessed him confronting In-pyo. He goaded Park to stab him, but Mr. Park walked away instead, dropping the knife on the floor. This allowed his wife to jump in and take full advantage of this. Thankfully, she's arrested. Prosecutor Chang is a little suspicious of Wee-Woo's perfect methods, given he managed to predict all of this perfectly and help give his career a jolt. Still, he's snapped out of this by Kim Seok-hoon, who greets him in the hallway and confirms that there are great expectations on him now. With the case wrapped up and Sang-min able to spend more time with his family now, Wee-Woo heads off to wish Han-mi good luck before her exams. After, she brings the results to Wee-Woo, and it turns out she's passed. It's worth pointing out here that Sang-man has also passed too. Han-mi applies for university and manages to get in. Unfortunately, Seok-hoon rings and tells her she can only go to a women's college for English. Han-mi, though, wants to do journalism. That night, Wee-Woo's parents bring him the sobering news that he's been drafted into the military. Of course, this is compulsory in Korea, but for Wee-Woo, this is technically the second time he needs to do this. What a bummer. Wee-Woo heads back to see Woo Young-soo and tasks him with handling his money while he's gone. On the eve of him leaving, Wee-Woo reflects on how he's been changing everyone's lives. All the people closest to him have seen their lives made better. Even Tae-seok is changing too, which makes for an enticing matchup between the pair. After saying goodbye to everyone and all the girls in his life, we cut forward 7 years. Wee-Woo has completed his military training, finished studying and passed the bar exam to become the top-rated prosecutor. They've never seen anyone complete this so fast. Wee-Woo is finally back. Instead of Seoul though, Wee-Woo decides to work in Gangwon Providence at the Gangwon District Prosecutor's office. He tasks his colleague with bringing up all the criminal cases from the last 6 months. His target are the Yochi gang, who run a few of the entertainment venues in town. They're also well known as the neighborhood gangsters too. The thing is, all the cases relating to this gang have come back as inconclusive, which points toward corruption in the police. Park Sang-man has been working with elder Woo Young-soo, who Wee-Woo tasked with looking after him while he's gone. The pair have quite the bond, despite his rudeness to the old man. It's only temporary though, as Wee-Woo brings Sang-man with him as they head in to visit the gang. They're running their own illegal gambling run, taking place in the seedy underbelly of these venues. Wee-Woo shows up with a whole load of money ready to gamble, but he loses every time. He decides to stake all of his money on 7, but tries to call out the bluff of the teller, changing from 6 to 8, and then back to 6 again. So what numbers do the dice finish on? It was 7 after all. It would seem that Wee-Woo lost on purpose, and it's all part of his master plan. The teller, Do Ah-jin, meets Wee-Woo the following day, courtesy of a number and a note reading "I have something to say." While together, Wee-Woo wants her to give information on the Yochi gang, and believes they should work together in order to wipe them out. Unfortunately, the police aren't going to help, leaving Wee-Woo alone to tackle the gang himself. Sangman shuts off the lights, allowing Wee Woo to gain the advantage, at least temporarily. When he shows up at the billiards hall, he ends up fighting with the mole, managing to gain the advantage and take the goons out, one at a time. Sangman and Investigator O are shocked, but thanks to Ah Jin's intel, Wee Woo even manages to gain the ledgers and documents needed to incriminate all of the gang. However, Lee In-seok, a prominent member of the gang, shows up and begins fighting with Wee Woo. Wee Woo knows that, if he's left behind he'll become the most prominent fist in the country. He refuses to leave him to that fate, so he gives him a stiff kick to the face, and decides to recruit him as Sangman's security instead, playing on their side this time. As the episode closes out, the head prosecutor comes storming into the room, marches up to Wee Woo, and slaps him in the face. Again, my life was always going to have a time jump, and this much is especially clear as we jump forward 7 years. The first part of the episode essentially works to show that the more Wee Woo progresses with his life and gaining in power and strength, so too is Tae-seop, as these two are on parallel lines ready to absolutely decimate each other later on in the show. This time around, the series adds some well-choreographed fighting, and a lot of intriguing developments to the fold. After the 7 years have passed, we focus more exclusively on the drama involving Wee Woo's career, and this case involving the gang. Seeing Wee Woo start to build his influence, with more people by his side like Sangman and Elder is a nice touch, and hopefully that continues throughout the episode. I'd imagine he's going to need a whole team to fight against Tae-seop, and that sets up quite the showdown to come.